Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. With that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors.
Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time.
All right, thank y'all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary and Ronald Records. Make sure to click the link below and go check them out. Guarantee you're going to like them. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Hi, I'm Jenna Haagen.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do, give us that Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
Okay. Well, I am from Vancouver, Washington. I'm born and raised. And my journey with music, I've always played music my whole entire life. But just in the last few years, I've kind of gotten into singing and songwriting and playing around the Portland area. So my genre that I say based on the day, right now it's alternative pop because I feel like that covers everything. And I've been able to do a little bit of recording of music, definitely have that planned for the future.
Oh, exciting.
But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. And what got you into music initially?
So I'm from a very musical family.
Okay.
A fun fact I like to tell people is that I'm actually a former band member of a family band.
Oh, okay.
So we didn't do anything too crazy, but we had a local talent show in the town that I grew up in. And so every year we would do a performance. And the first one was when I was 3 years old. So I was rocking.
Oh, so you got started right away.
Oh yeah, I was rocking that tambourine.
Okay.
We were playing Yellow Submarine by the Beatles. And so that kind of was my intro into music. I took lessons for various instruments along the way. Drums is what stuck. But then I also loved singing from a young age. So that's kind of the start of the journey for me.
Exciting. Yeah. Did you ever try to do singing and drums at the same time?
No. When I was in the family band, I was always a little bit younger than everybody else. I was in the bottom half. I have 5 siblings.
Oh, God. Okay. Okay. Enough siblings to make a band all on your own.
Yes. So the oldest 3, they were the ones playing the instruments that actually carried the song and the melody. So they were on the drums, the bass, guitar, and then us in the front were cowbell and tambourine.
Just additional percussion.
Yeah. So along the way, as I was playing the drums, I didn't ever dabble in singing and playing at the same time.
Okay. Do you still play drums now?
Not so much.
Fair.
When I can see a drum set, I like to jump onto it, but I'm definitely rusty.
Okay, yeah. That's fair. Yeah, it's a hard instrument to have around, especially in the living ways of today. So I get that.
Yeah, right now my current place I'm living in, I don't have soundproof walls, so yeah, it's not super ideal. But
yeah, no, I totally understand that. But before we get into more of what you're doing in the present day, I have a couple foundation questions I check in with everybody on. And this first one is one we ask early, it's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
Oh my gosh. First album. This is probably going to be, I think it was Avril Lavigne. Yeah. I think when I was in 3rd grade, I got the Avril Lavigne album. And I had a poster of Avril Lavigne on my wall. So
I may have also had a poster on my wall. I get it. That was a weirdly iconic album for the time too.
Oh yeah. Complicated, Skater Boy. Like those were good songs.
Yeah, they were hits. They were hits. I mean, I think my dad actually bought that album. So like it was in the house where I like knew who she was. But you're also not the only person who said that. So Avril, thanks for making cool music.
Yeah.
And then what was the first live show you ever went to that was like specifically one you wanted to go to? So like you saw it was happening, got tickets and went to it.
I think because I can remember the first concert I ever went to, and it was Lone Star, but it was like at the fair.
Yeah.
So I was with family. So Lone Star was my first concert. I think the first concert I went to that I really wanted to go to was Maroon 5, Augustana, and the Counting Crows. They were all together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I bet that was a cool show.
It was cool. Yeah. It was kind of, I think it was before like Maroon 5 had more of like their pop intro. Yeah. Like, you know, they were less mainstream. I mean, they were still mainstream, but yeah, I remember really loving that concert.
Well, that's exciting. I bet that was a really fun one.
Yeah.
And then before we get into you officially, what do you have like a defining moment where you decided you wanted to take music more seriously? Which I mean, I know you've kind of been doing it since the beginning anyways, but like one where you decided to take it as your own.
Yeah. So for me, it really is like my COVID story. Mm-hmm. I had, I mean, I always sang, but I never really considered myself a songwriter at all. Mm-hmm. I dabbled, and I have a notebook probably of terrible songs I wrote from when I was in like high school, you know? But then COVID hit, and I had a guitar that I never, ever played ever. I think that I saw it, I picked it up, and I started kind of learning some new covers, and I shared one cover on Facebook with my Facebook friends, you know, and people were like, whoa, Jenna, you can sing? Like, didn't know that. So that was good encouragement. And I sent it to my dad, actually. And he's like, that's a great song. You know, what? Did you write that? And I was like, no, Casey Musgraves wrote this song. But he's like, you should write your own song. I was like, thanks. I've tried that before. But sure enough, I sat down and I kind of just wrote a song based on like how I was feeling at the moment. Mm-hmm. And that was the start of just kind of starting to write more songs. It just started coming a little bit more natural to me.
Gotcha.
So yeah, COVID was the time. So there's a lot of obviously not so positive sides of that, but it definitely gave me time to just be at home and
very much
focus on music in a new way.
Yeah. And actually, you know, having asked that question to a handful of people, that is a surprising defining moment for a lot of people. So of all the things that were bad, I think the one good thing that came from it is it gave a lot of creatives time to do nothing but create.
Yeah.
And I think it awoke a lot of experiences for people in that way. So obviously don't want it to happen again, but that seems to be the one good recurring thing that did come from it.
Yeah. I think I've ran into that too. And a lot of people, I think when you have a tough thing you're going through or an unprecedented thing you're going through, it does inspire new art.
Very much so.
Like it's not the norm. So all of a sudden you have all this new material that you can work on.
Yeah. No, I mean, I got into photography during COVID, and that eventually led to what this is now. So it could be worse. But let's go ahead and get on into you in the present day. And we're going to get a super easy one out of the way. What made you decide to go with your name?
Well, I feel like I think just because it's my name, it was easy. Mm-hmm. Nobody has it. So I haven't seen any Jenna Haagens out there. There's similar names, but so it wasn't taken by anybody. And I feel like my music right now is totally just like a reflection of just all of my life. You know, it's just very personal to me. So, yeah.
No, I get that. And I'm always a fan when people decide to go with their own versus like a stage name, because then it's just like, you don't have to like learn to respond to two different names, and you can just like, feels more personable. So I get that. Mm-hmm. And then let's talk about your writing style. And we're going to break it up into chunks and start right at the beginning. When you get inspired, you're ready to make music. How do you go about getting a song started?
So I have a lot of voice notes on my phone. My notes app, in addition to a lot of other things that I'm thinking all the time, has a lot of lyrics that if I have an idea, I'll write it in my notes app. And a lot of times it's just a line or two. Like it doesn't always start as a full song. But I think I know it's kind of a debate. Like, do you start with the music, the melody first, or do you start with the lyrics? And I'm definitely somebody who starts more with the lyrics. Like I have an idea of a concept of a song, and then I will write that and then like tinker around on my guitar afterwards and try to find its way. But a lot of songs that I don't start like I write it the same day that I think of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes that does happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then once you get a track finished writing, like it doesn't have to be like released and put out and like available to the world per se, but once you've gotten it all written, how long does it usually take you to get comfortable to the point where you feel you can perform it?
It depends. I try to practice a lot. Like, and one of the things that I think is a little bit more unique to my style is that I throw a lot of words into songs. So it'll be fast. So those are intimidating to play live for sure. If I don't have a lot of practice playing them, it's happened before. I will stumble on my words because if you lose it, you lose it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would say that if I can finish a song and I have like a solid month to practice it, I feel relatively comfortable. And that's what's nice also about the venues and the shows I've been playing. Obviously you want to show up and do your very best, but it also has like a low pressure feel to it that I'm like, what's the worst that happens? If I mess up on a song that I wrote, I just keep going.
No, totally. And I think part of the like big aspect of performing live is that it's not supposed to be perfect. So like, the small mistakes, the little hiccups, like people kind of appreciate that in a weird way because it's like, that's like the human element. That's the side that they go to the live shows for. And like, obviously they don't want you to forget all the words in the world. But I remember I was watching a live performance of Metallica's. Like they were in like Mexico. They were performing like 1 million people. And they were performing Ride the Lightning, which is like a big song. And in the middle of the song, James Hetfield, in time with the music, was like just, I forgot all of the words. Like, and they just, everybody loved it. Everybody ate it up. So it's, in the world of live, I think it's acceptable as long as you roll with it. If you are comfortable in that element, nobody's going to care anyway. Yeah. And it gives them just something to like remember, like, oh, I remember she was like fun in that moment. She didn't like stop. So that can go a long way. But I mean, I think a month is a solid amount of time for any one song. It's crazy to me when people are like, I could do it the next day. I'm like, how? I could never. I could never. But also, I mean, you obviously you've been playing for a while and you've done a pretty fair amount of stuff. You have a handful of things online. I thought it was interesting that you decided to go for the 7-day experience. What fueled that? What made you want to go that route?
So I did the previous year, the Portland Songwriters did a 7-day songwriting experience, and I did 1 day of it. And I was proud of myself. I tried to do a couple days, and life was hectic. I got one song out, and I feel like it was cool because they also had a show. They had a get together with everybody who completed the challenge, and everyone sang a song that they had written in that time period. And, especially that one, we all had written it that week. So we're kind of stumbling. We have our notes app open. I'm like, oh, I forgot what chord I used. But it was very raw and very fun. So this year, when it came back around, I challenged myself to do all 7 days. I said, I'm going to do it. Doesn't matter if they are terrible songs I don't want to put my name to. I'm going to share them because I think that's part of the experience.
Oh, very much so.
And it was really fun. I think what I really like about a prompt is it gives you the material and it's just like, okay, now make the most of this prompt. Like with it, whatever, your imagination. So there were ones that I was like, I would confidently sing this song at my own show. Like, I think I wrote one of my favorite songs, like crowd favorites during that week. And then there was one song I wrote and it was like right in a different genre. Yep.
I do remember that one.
Yeah, so it was like right in a different genre. And I was like, okay, like I don't write club music or like really you know. So it was like the end of the day and I was just like having fun. I was like, a lot of those songs, the whole concept is they like just want to dance all night. So I was like, I'm just going to write a song. And it's just all I want to do is dance. And so it was silly, but it was, I don't know. It was very fun to like, and it was a way to hold myself accountable too. And just take some of the pressure off of songwriting, I think.
No, very much so. And I mean, it shows elasticity, if anything, being able to be like, I made this song based off of this concept, not I only write for these topics or these things. And it's fun how when you like try those different approaches that are just like not ones you would even have considered, sometimes you might not find the whole process rewarding, but you'll find something in it that you're like, oh, I can use this forever. It like adds to your style, it adds to your experience. And it's just, things you would have never thought to do otherwise. Like I was, let me scroll through my notes here. I really enjoyed Soulmate.
Oh, thank you.
It was a really fun one. And I thought it was interesting that you had to like not do a rhyme scheme like that. When I read that as the description, I was like, how have I never thought to do that in an approach for a song like that? That's not something I even like try to pay attention to and see if people do or don't do sometimes. So that was really eye-opening for me. But the song itself wasn't like you were just like, oh, well, these words don't rhyme, so I'll put them together. Like it was very emotional. It's very vulnerable, but it still like carried itself well. So like knowing that like that aspect wasn't there and still being able to enjoy the song, I thought was really cool.
Thank you.
But go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, that one was challenging, especially because I mean, basics of songwriting.
Yeah.
Usually it rhymes.
Yeah, it's like the AAB or ABAC. Like, yeah.
And if it doesn't, like it does feel awkward. But then that was also a good challenge because it's like it doesn't have to rhyme. Like it can still have a melody that carries. So yeah, that was a fun one, challenging for sure.
I could imagine. But I am curious to know, what is one of your favorite songs to perform?
Ooh, so I'm trying to think. I just wrote one and I played it at a recent show. And the whole hook, it kind of takes a second to get there, but it's about wanting for my career to be a one-hit wonder. And so
interesting.
So I don't know if that's 100% true, but it kind of just plays on this idea that like I'm not necessarily doing music to be like the next big pop star, and like I want to be a famous musician doing world tours. Like I really just like the music aspect of it. And so that one was fun because first of all, it is kind of one of those ones that goes like a little bit faster. So I have to challenge myself a little bit. But it's just got like some like quirky jokes and like, I think it goes like the crowd responds to it very well.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's a little more animated and everything.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. And I mean, I think that's like a healthier approach to have to it anyways. It's so hard to like quote unquote make it in the world of music to those like particular standards, but like the appreciation of the process is kind of more the lost part of the art. And if more people took that time, I think it would even be more appreciated overall. But also that's kind of just a fun like perspective to have on it, to be like, I only want to be known for this one moment. And then it makes like everything else after that kind of just feel a little more lighthearted and like easier to lean into. That's a lot of fun. And then I guess let's talk about music that you're working on, stuff that hasn't come out yet. Because I recently heard that you've done some work with our friends here at Ronald.
Yeah. So funny story about Ronald Records. I had the day that I talked to the team here, I had just talked to a few bars around town because I had a goal for last year that I was going to do 5 shows. That's not too many.
No,
but
that's a good goal.
I had gotten to the end of the year and I was like, I don't think I'm going to get to 5. I'm going to get to 4, which, that's great. Like next year I can set out my mind. And someone was like, well, you still have time. You can go do 5 shows. So I was walking around, I was driving around Vancouver. I talked to a couple places. And then I just parked in Vancouver. I was meeting up with a friend and I walked into the store just to check it out. I've never been to this store before. And it's so cute upstairs, so many cool things. And then I walked down, I was like, how cool, there's a record shop.
Yeah.
And checking it out, just
great record shop.
Yeah. So then they were setting up some live music for the following night. And I just started talking to somebody and found out that they do live music. And they're like, we're just looking for some live musicians to play some shows. We're just getting started. And I was like, hello. So it just came about really naturally and organically. And I got to play in January a show here.
Oh, exciting.
And it was so fun. Again, like I say, it's like it wasn't like a high pressure environment. It felt really intimate and nice, but there was a good crowd. It was and then there was another group that played after me that was more of like a jazz feel, and it was really fun. So this is a great venue.
No, very much so. That's actually, I mean, y'all can kind of see it back here, but one of the things I really like about this space is that it's all ground level. There isn't like a hard stage. It's small, but it's got enough like comfortable space to it where like you can have a handful of people in here without like bumping elbows with everybody. And it's just, it has a feeling of kind of a passionate feel towards music in it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great place to discover local musicians, I think.
Very much so. That's kind of their whole proprietary thing. It's just like having like people who are from here playing here. But this is not their episode. This is yours. So we'll get back into it. And for this next one, we're going to zoom out a little bit. I want to look at kind of music as a whole. What are some of the things about either newer music that's coming out or like newer music to you that you enjoy and are like finding inspiration from?
That's a good question. I think a few things. One thing that I draw inspiration from is when like somebody can take like a concept, like not like being like punny per se, but like I like a phrase that we use all the time or something that is just like common speak. And then you're able to like find a way to like cleverly insert that into new lyrics. I feel like it's funny because like country music does it all the time with like beer and the highway. Like I feel like they like are able to do like different phrases, but in a new way. That's like fun.
Kind of just insert it in so people have that like immediate familiarity.
Yeah.
At the same time, you're like, I know what you're doing, but also I get it.
Yeah. And I feel like for me, that's like inspiring as a musician because I feel like that's how I kind of like to approach songwriting is like take a concept that's like very common, maybe a little cliche, and then make it not that way. Like make it a little bit nuanced. And so that's one thing. I feel like, I mean, I listen to so many different types of music. So I'm trying to think of like other like newer stuff that's coming out. I don't know. I like when they like fit in a bunch of words and like even if the lyrics are like nonsensical.
Yeah.
I think it's fun. Like when you just approach music from like a fun aspect.
Yeah, no, definitely. Have you ever attempted stand-up comedy?
No, I have not.
Okay.
No.
You have that explanation follows a lot of the similar approaches to that method of like creation for stand-up comedy. So if you ever need a side thing to do, consider it. I think that'd be a fun approach.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of respect for stand-up comedians.
Same.
Because
it's a hard gig.
Yeah. I mean, when you can consistently go up there and like be vulnerable and like it depends on the crowd. I mean, it's kind of like music in that way, but at least with music, you're like, okay, like this is, my song, this is my baby. I'm going to like protect it. I feel like stand-up comedy is such a different gig.
Music also has the built-in understanding from the audience that they're A, going to be quiet, and B, they're going to clap at the end.
Yes.
Whereas comedy has the built-in respect of maybe they could heckle.
Yeah.
They know they're allowed to.
Yeah.
I feel like for audiences for music, they're there for the music. Audiences for comedians are there for the audience, for the comedians to entertain.
Yeah.
So, but again, I don't want to dive too far into that. Before we get into this next portion, this next question is probably the densest one in the interview.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about your experiences with music, the actions, the reactions, things like that. But when it's just you and music one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
Yeah, I think that music, I guess I'll try to say this as briefly as possible, but I feel like music is a way to communicate how I'm feeling in a different way. Like there are things like concepts that are really hard to have a conversation about, but when you put some music behind it and you like kind of lyrically plot it out, you're able to get your thoughts out on different topics or experiences that you're going through. And for me, again, I think why it was such a great outlet during COVID is there's all these like very serious things going on in the world and then also internally because we're all very isolated from each other in a way that we haven't been before. So for me, it's like a way to journal almost, but it's not quite literal. Everything's not literal. I don't have to say explicitly, but a lot of times I can't actually explicitly say what I'm feeling about something. So I feel like that's a big thing about what like music brings back to me. Even like the silly songs that I write, like there's some truth to it usually. There's something that I'm getting out of my system.
No, totally.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
But now let's go ahead and we're going to move on to some hypothetical questions.
Okay. I love
these. Sky's the limits. The questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well. But this first one's pretty straightforward. If you could work with any one person, the only requirement is they have to be alive. Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
Okay. I am definitely a Charlie Puth fan, which I saw him live. And I think he's just like very musically gifted. So I feel like it would be fun to work with him because like I feel like you could take like me like snapping and like somehow turn that into some really cool something. I think he's an artist that is very like he shows his process a lot. So I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, no, I love that. That'd be rad. And then subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of, but you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I might need a second to think about this one. Well, so this might be cheating a little bit, but I have a sister who's in a band. So I know she's connected with a lot of local bands. And one that she's played with a lot is called Small Million. And they're really good. I like love their music. So they're a fun one to connect with for sure.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Well, everybody, you know what to do. At them in the comments. See if you can make that happen.
Yeah.
And then for this next one, like I said before, sky's the limit. So it's pretty literal in this sense. But if you could perform anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access or building stability or power, it was guaranteed the best lineup, guaranteed the best show. And it doesn't have to be a venue. It could be anywhere. Where would you want to perform?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is a tough one too. Just for like the notoriety's sake, I think it'd be really cool to perform at the Grand Ole Opry.
Okay, yeah.
That's not like a location. I mean, it is a location, but
no, totally.
I mean, if I could do that, that would be a pretty good resume.
That would be right. Also, I don't think I've ever gotten that answer on that's kind of surprising to me, but that is a great choice. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then to wrap up the hypothetical questions, if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have not put out an album in 100 years, they could have put out an album yesterday. Who would you want an album from?
Oh my gosh. I feel like since they can be living or dead, that would be cool if Queen could put out another album.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. No, I would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, especially now. I think we could use an album from them now.
Yeah. I think like maybe a theme that you might be getting from me is like I love it when musicians like push the boundaries and
very much so.
They're just all over the place. So I would love to see what they would do today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, but with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. What can we look forward to between now and the end of the year?
So my big goal this year is to record. I have a lot of songs now. I didn't, 4 years ago, but now I do. So just more stuff on my Spotify because right now I only have 2 songs on there. So that's a big goal of mine. I will be popping up in local performances throughout the year. So I'll definitely keep people posted on that. But yeah, other than that, I plan to just kind of keep doing what I'm doing and write music. So
exciting.
Yeah.
Well, definitely looking forward to all of that.
Thank you.
For this next one, go and look straight at the camera. Tell everybody how they can find you.
Okay. Well, you can find me on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you find music, actually. Just under my name, Jenna Haagen. Haagen is spelled like Haagen-Dazs ice cream, if that is an easy way to remember it. I also have an Instagram just under my name as well. Other than that, LinkedIn. So that's it.
Perfect. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you'd like to put on while you're on here?
I'll give a shout out. The music that you will hear on my Spotify, that is all done by my sister, actually, who recorded it. So her name is Lisa Haagen. She's also in a band that's female-led called Babers. So check them out as well. But definitely the recording thing for me has been fun with family. So if you like what you hear, reach out to her as well.
Awesome. All right. And with that being said, we've got one last question to go. But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second.
Okay.
As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary and Ronald Records. And I forgot to say it at the beginning, but Portland Water. Make sure to click the link below and go check them out. Guarantee you're going to like it. With that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation.
Okay.
But what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? So it's a deep cut. It's when not a lot of people would know, but it's when you think everybody should know.
An album that is on the obscure side that I think everybody should know. I don't know the album name, but a band that I really like that I don't think everyone's familiar with it. You might be familiar with it. You're a music guy, but a band called Valley. And they're kind of like a little bit more poppy alternative, kind of like what I'm saying, but a little more upbeat. I don't know I think their latest album is called Lost in Translation. But I really, really like that band.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
Well, the name sounds familiar. The album name sounds familiar too. So I think I have heard them, but just in case I haven't, I'm definitely going to go check it out again. So thank you for that.
Yeah, check them out. I've seen them live too, and they're pretty good. So.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get up on out of here. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, Jimmy. It was super fun.
This has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Jenna Haagen.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap.
This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.